Hey guys, in this video, we can discuss Leetcode 282 expression add operators. So basically for this problem, we're going to be given a string of integers which represents a number, and then we have a target value, and we're going to add operators in between the string so that the final equation of the string gonna equal to the target. And the operators we can add will be the plus, minus, and multiplication. So basically, for example, let's look at example one. So the input number is 1, 2, 3, and the target is 6. So what we can do is like we can do 1 multiplied by 2 and by 3 multiplied by 3, then it will be 6. Or 1 plus 2 plus 3 will be 6. And then we can have all the possible outputs in the output array. So basically, this is a standard backtrack problem. So what are we gonna do is like we're gonna exhaust all the possibilities by adding operators in between the numbers and try to see what we can get. And if the final output is the same as the target value, then we can just append it into the output stream. So the most important part for backtrack algorithms to define the recursive function. So, and we need to also consider all the scenarios that we can handle when we are looping through the string. So basically, there are four scenarios we can consider. The first scenario is like we don't add any operator. So basically, we just extend the current number by one extra digit without adding operator. So for example, if the first number is 1, and for the second number, we don't add any operators in between, so the number will become 12. And in this case, there is a special exception. Basically, we don't allow numbers start with 0. So if the previous digit is 0, then we must add an operator in between because 0, 5 is not a valid number. And the second scenario is like we add a plus operator in between so that we have a number and then we add a plus operator, so to add the next number. And the third scenario is to have a minus operator. So basically for this case, there must be a number before the current number so that we can add a minus. So for example, like the output string cannot start with a minus, so it has to start with a number. And then the last case is to have an operator of multiplication. So it's the same as a minus. So it has to be, there must be a number already exist before we can add a multiplication. So the string cannot start with multiplication. So for plus operator, it's a special case because we're gonna append the plus operator in the string by default. So like we're gonna assume all the numbers start with positive. That's why we're gonna add a positive operator in the recursive call so that like it's a like we can default like the numbers will be positive. That's why we don't need a number before the plus sign. So now with these four scenarios, we also need to define the input parameters for the recursive function. So basically, we need to know the current index of the number we are calculating on, right? And also the previous number, because we need to know the previous number for the minus and the multiplication calculation. So that's why we need to know the previous number. And also we need to know the current number, like what's the current number we have, because if we are extending the current number, then we by one digit, then we need to update the current number, or like yeah. And also like if we are adding operators, then we need to update the current number will become the previous number for the next iteration. And also we need to know the current sum, like the total sum for up to now, like what's the total sum. And then so that we can, when we are reaching the target condition, we reach the end of the loop, end of the string, so we can compare the current sum with the target value. And also the current result, basically the current string. So what's the current string we build so that we can append it to the result. All right, so basically these are the five input parameters we need for the recursive function. So let's try to code it out. So basically we need output, that's the response we need. And also we need to define the recursive function. So basically, as we discussed, we need to know the index. And we need to know the previous number. previous number, and the current number, current sum, and the current current string. So let me say maybe current string. Yeah, let's say current string. So okay, so now that we can use this to, this is a function we need to define, and then we need to call it on the initial condition. So the initially it will be index 0. The previous number is 0, current number is 0, sum is 0, and the initial. Let me use array. So the current, let's say pass, so that we can know what's the current items in the array, and then in the end we can join the characters in the array to build the final to append it into the result. Okay, so now we need to calculate. So first we need to define the exit condition. So if index equal to length of the number, so we need to define the exit condition if we reach the end, and if the current sum equal to the target, is the same as the target we're gonna reach, and also target, then we can just append the output. So response append the current, join the current pass, the current pass. All right. So we can just find it to the output, and we can just return here. It's just exit. Now we need to consider the scenario 1. So just which means extend and by 1. So if we do this, then the current number would equal to current number times 10 plus integer to the number, the current index. Okay. All right. So now we need to avoid. We also need to avoid do not allow numbers start with 0, right? So if current number is larger than 0, then we can just call the recursive again. Otherwise, we don't. If it's 0, then we do nothing. So index will +1. Previous number will be the same. Current number will be the now new current number, and the current sum will remain the same, and the current pass would remain the same. Yeah, exactly. All right. So this is how we do that. So we just do recursive on this, and then as long as they meet the end condition, we can just append it into the output. All right. So this is the first scenario. Okay. So now let's do the scenario 2, where is the addition, add operator. All right. So what we can do is like we can just append plus sign, pass dot and plus sign, and also append the current number, convert it into a string. And then we can recursive on that. So index plus 1, the current number will become the previous number. And then the new current number will be 0. And the current sum would be current sum plus current number, because we are doing addition. And the current pass. Yep. All right. So once we do that, we can just keep pop. So this is one condition, and then we can pop, so that we can now use the second possibility, which is minus, doing the subtraction. Right. Now we do minus. So so for the minus, we can only do that if there's already items in the current pass, because otherwise, if there's no previous numbers in there, then we cannot do minus. So if current pass, if it exists, then we can do minus. So we can do the same. Append minus and append the current number. All right, index plus 1. So the previous number will be the negative of the current number, right? And also new one. And then the sum will be just minus, and then current pass, and we just pop it out. And then now we can do the multiplication. Will be the same. So we're gonna only do multiplication if there's previously a number in that. So we're gonna do multiplication and append that to that. So current number will be the previous number. So the new previous number will be this, multiplied by that. And this will be the current sum. So we are removing the previous sum and plussing this. So it will be, it will be, Command C. It will be plus this. So the current sum will adding the current sum multiplied by this, and then minus the previous number. As we are removing the previous number and then multiplied by current number. So the total, the new sum will be removing the previous sum and then like adding this new multiplication multiplied result, and then this, and then pop. Yeah, I would think it would work. Okay, so let's see. So, and also we need to consider a specific cases, like for the end condition, we need to check like current sum is 0, so that it will be ended equal to 0. So if there's no current value in it, then we can know it's a valid solution. And also because we are appending plus sign, so when we are doing the initial loop, we are always appending the plus sign to that for the addition. So that's why we need to, when we join this, we're gonna ignore that. So we're gonna do this. So from the second item, so we're gonna ignore the first plus sign. So let's see. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's try to run and see how it goes. All right, so let's try to debug. Oh, it's not appending. Let me see. Give me a second. So the response. So if index is equals to length of the number, and if the current sum is equal to the target, and also Oh, current number is 0, sorry. So there's no current number. Okay, now it works. Okay, sorry, it's a typo there. All right, and it should working fine. Yeah, that's good. So basically, it's a standard recursive function, and we need to consider all the scenarios, and also we need to define the exit condition. And the most difficult part is to know what's the input values to the recursive call. And then we're gonna just recursively call the same function to exhaust all the possibilities. All right, so this is the end of the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.